So exam preparation course. What's in it for me? It tells what actually is business analysis, what do BAs do, what is BA core concept model, the knowledge areas, the 6 knowledge areas that are defined in BABOK version 3 will be covered. What are the underlying competencies of a business analyst, the techniques and perspectives in business analysis, right? So why
Right.
business analysis? I think you and me agree to this. We need business analysis because 71% of failed software projects are traced to poor requirements. 40% of the effort in an average software project is fixing errors. Requirements defects account for 56% of rework. 194.4 billion is spent on software development and 46 billion is spent on fixing software requirement errors.
Wow.
Lastly, $250 billion of annual waste is traced to poor requirements globally. So one thing you can see common in all of these things. So can you tell me what is that?
Well, the importance of getting the requirements correct the first time,
Yeah.
or even just,
So
even not the first time, but just getting it correct, because, it trickles down to um, later on just not getting a quality product, and then rework and, fixes that just waste, well, time and money.
yeah. So two words I see: poor requirements and requirement defects.
Correct. Right.
Right. So in order to fix this, I think we need to understand end-to-end process wherein we can upfront know and we can plan accordingly what is the approach we are going to take, what all things we would require for elicitation, how we are going to manage the requirements, so the entire requirement management life cycle, and how the stakeholder analysis will take place, and how we are going to design the solution on the basis of requirements, how we are going to analyze requirements, and lastly, how we are going to validate that the solution that we have developed for our stakeholders or business users actually aligns with the business requirements that were given on the first stage, right?
Right.
So a lot of things like poor requirements and requirement defects, they crop up because we don't take care of a lot of things that we're going to cover. Okay. So, so here we are saying BABOK guide can improve BA capabilities. I completely 100% agree to that. So what is business analysis? I mean, you understand that you
Right.
have your experience. Uh, so one thing that we see on this slide is he's someone who is defining the business needs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he is recommending the solutions too, right?
Right.
So, uh, so of course there are these things like what, where, why, when, how. That's the basic stuff that BA does. But through identifying these business needs and recommending solutions that can best fit in order to meet these business needs is what will enable the change for the organization, right? So he's somewhere enabling the change for the organization. He's an enabler there. And then after that, there is a continuous improvement that is required, wherein BA comes into picture. So BA work, as most of the organizations think that BA work starts with a project life cycle and ends when the project ends. So that's not where BA works end, because there has to be center of excellence where BAs are getting together and they are discussing their projects and they are discussing the strategies that the organizations have laid down for themselves, and they need to see how the projects taken up are aligning with the principles and values that the organization vouches for, right? So
Right.
that's how the continuous improvement comes up. So with some candidates, I find this that they say that their organization gives them space to give ideas at their team level and the organization level. So there is a backlog of ideas wherein these guys suggest the ideas and they follow some techniques and they follow some models to come up with those ideas so that they can highlight the challenges, the problem, and the opportunities. And if they go ahead with those ideas, what is the value those ideas can deliver, right? So that's how you continuously improve. Of course, you have your projects wherein a business case has been identified, which leads to business needs, and then you define those business needs. And through multiple activities, you give shape to those needs in the form of requirements, and then there is documentation, analysis, elicitation, all of that is going into it. Then you recommend solutions. But that's not where you end. You're enabling the change and you need to continuously improve. So that's what business analysis is. So who is this guy? Who is a business analyst? Uh, I'm sure this looks familiar to you, but I'll give a quick read.
Right.
He's someone who performs tasks defined in the BABOK guide. So we don't know what tasks are there defined in the BABOK guide. We will come to know about that in a moment. He discovers, synthesizes, and analyzes information. We know this. We have been doing all of this, right?
Right.
He elicits the needs from stakeholders. So that's the elicitation part. We all know BAs do the elicitation. They have to prepare for elicitation, then they conduct the elicitation activities, and then they confirm the elicitation results with the business stakeholders. It's a sort of sign off, and then they uh, do the analysis and then the communication and requirement management part. We will dig deeper into that.
Okay.
Investigates and clarifies stakeholder desires. So this is where the business need is analyzed. What exactly these stakeholders want. So this is a sort of this is a sort of enterprise analysis, which is also called as strategy analysis. So enterprise analysis was a BABOK knowledge area in version 2 of BABOK, but they changed it to strategy analysis because they found that is more appropriate. So what happens in strategy analysis, we're going to dig deeper into that, but just to give a quick view of it, it is actually the gap analysis. I mean, BAs actually do the as-is analysis, and then the future state that the business is looking for, and then they do the gap analysis, right?
Okay.
So that's how the stakeholder desires are elicited. Right? They determine issues and their causes. So there might be problems that the organization is going through. There could be a backlog of that. So they find out those issues. They determine that there are certain issues using various analysis techniques like fishbone diagrams and your root cause analysis, all of that. And then they find out the causes, which lead to some other business cases, followed by business needs, giving shape to projects. That's how they work. So, any questions you have on this screen?
No, we're good.
Okay, that's great. So there is some core concept model that BABOK has designed. So what happens is that this guy BA is into change. So I'll start with need. Sorry, need, change, solution, context, value, and stakeholder. So this guy is working around all these areas. Some of it we already covered. A problem or opportunity leads to a business need. Business requires that. Change. So we just saw that business need plus the solution defined leads to change, which is the act of transformation in response to need. Solution is a way to satisfy one or more needs in a context. And then there are circumstances, which is context, circumstances that influence or are influenced by and provide understanding of change. One quick example that comes to my mind is the regulatory requirements, right? The regulatory requirements is something that can influence your business needs. So you see the context is regulatory requirements. Another could be competition. Competition is another context which can lead to BAs or product owners or product analysts to think around new features that they can provide to their products. Value. So that's about usefulness to stakeholder within a context. So let's say I picked up a context of regulatory requirements that your company should comply with these regulatory requirements. So if you comply with that, it's that you will not be penalized. If you don't comply, you can be penalized. Uh, so that's the value out of regulatory project, right? Similarly, with different contexts, there could be different usefulness to a stakeholder within a context. Uh, Next is the stakeholder. So BA is actually continuously doing stakeholder engagement, stakeholder analysis. He's creating various metrics in order to identify stakeholders, like, and he's defining that which stakeholder needs to be, consulted, who needs to be informed, who is to be held responsible, and who would be accountable. So have you heard about RACI matrix, RACI?
Racy, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
also for the PMP.
PMP, yeah. So you will see a lot of, not a lot, but some things
Right,
overlapping there.
things crossover, yeah. So that's
Yeah,
the responsibility matrix, right?
yeah, yeah. So knowledge areas. We saw these knowledge areas, and we will see them again one by one. But it is a revision of what we have seen. So I'll move on to business analysis, planning, and monitoring.